for everybody to see. So my name is Taylor Greiner. I am the Director of Innovation here at US Signal. I'm joined by the incredibly talented Ryan McDonald, a solution architect with our organization. We are really excited today to talk to you about Intune. It is a conversation that pops up all the time, right? Everyone's looking at it. Everyone's got an MDM solution of some kind. If they don't, that's a different conversation we need to have. But this is a great opportunity to dive into the platform. Ryan is probably the smartest person when it comes to Intune that I know, and very excited for him to share insights. So, as we kind of dive in and we get ready to really, take a look at the platform. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask in the chat. If you want to have a conversation afterwards, we are more than happy to hop on a call, have the conversation, really make sure that you're comfortable with the tool. Ryan, any kind of initial thoughts before we dive into this?
Just to kind of reiterate to what you said, I've got an agenda, but that doesn't mean I'm really here for you guys. Please ask any questions, maybe something that Intune's been bugging you on. Try to answer it my best on the call here, or we can try to do a quick follow-up. But I am a huge Intune nerd. You'll probably notice that pretty quick. But at the same time, I understand that it's got its pain points. I'm sure all of you have had those days of dealing with you. Have to really work on your patience with Intune, but it's something they're always working on, trying to improve things. So we'll get rolling here.
Perfect. And before we dive in, whether you have Intune in your organization and you're just trying to figure out, how do we leverage this tool more, or a common one, I looked at Intune 3 to 5 years ago, right? And at that time, you absolutely went another route, probably, right? Unless you were deeply, deeply invested in the Microsoft stack. And the really exciting thing to address that is that the tool has gotten really good. They have made massive investments into it. Even some of the recent announcements with regards to how they're working with some of the third-party platforms out there to enhance the features and capabilities, right? Intune is not the same product, platform, service that it was 5 years ago, right? So just keep an open mind as we look through this, and we'll go ahead and kind of hand it over to Ryan to share his screen and start diving in. Yeah. And like we said, please ask questions. I've got chat up in front of me, so I can see that. But we're here to share. So,
awesome.
All right.
So
perfect, Ryan. All you.
Awesome. Everybody can see the screen. So dive real quick if we've got anybody who maybe hasn't seen Intune before or anything like that. Intune can manage Windows devices, iOS, iPad devices, Mac OS, Android, and Linux. I still am waiting for that one client to try to have Linux. We haven't experienced that yet, but
to be fair, I did just install Linux on desktop on a laptop this weekend. So earlier this week. So maybe we run with that one.
Sounds like I got something from my lab now.
Awesome.
And what Taylor was talking about before, Intune MDM solution. So any sort of policies, compliance settings we want to make, that's what Intune is really there for you there. Now, want to get into some of the later releases that Intune has set up, especially when it comes to Windows 365. So Windows 365 is Microsoft's virtual desktop. How you get assigned is you assign a license to that user and it already starts to create that cloud PC for you. All of that management can be done within Intune. I've got my lab set up here. Now, what's nice there is if potentially, let's say you have a custom image that you've been doing for deployments with like a MDT or something like that, you can upload that custom image here and deploy that to your cloud PC. Originally, when Windows 365 came out, it was just for that Entra-join piece. But now they have moved where you can still have an Azure connection back to your on-premise and your...
Hey, Ryan, real quick.
Yes.
Are we able to zoom in at all on the screen.
Yeah, let me see here.
We got a comment, the screen.
Yep.
Fairly small, so we'll zoom that in.
I can do that.
Again, apologies. We're not in studio,
Yeah.
and they've handled this for us in the past. So
hopefully that's a little better here.
Yeah. If we still have issues, please post in the chat, but hopefully that resolves that. So
yep.
Back to you, Ryan.
Yep. So like I was saying before, these can be just a cloud PC Entra joined, or this can be a hybrid joined machine where it still sits in the cloud, but you have that Azure network connection on the back end to make sure it can connect to your local AD resources. As for, there's three really options there, like I talked about. We've got the hybrid, the Entra joined, and then they've also released a frontline option as well. The idea with the cloud PC on a frontline license is, one, it's a little cheaper. And what you get there is you can have one license for every 3 users. So if you have shift workers or something like that, now it's still one concurrent user on that machine. But if you have different shifts where that you don't have to pay that license cost per user, we can have them all log in concurrently, separately there.
Perfect. Yeah, and that's something big, right? Where I know we have a lot of manufacturing customers that run multiple shifts, and that's always a conversation. Do I need to license everybody? Do I need to license the device? Part of the Microsoft world is navigating the licensing matrix, right? So if you have questions about that, we're more than happy to help as well. But there are starting to become some really good license options to make sure that we can kind of fine tune and fit to your organization.
Yep. Let me see. I wanted to show quick here.
And if you have not attended one of these before, we do these live. This demo is not pre-recorded, and so there are moments where we got to pull stuff up, and you get to see the behind the curtains. This is what it's going to be like when you're managing in your organization. So we try to keep it as real as possible.
So just wanted to show you here. We've got our license when we first purchased that, but it's not like you're going to an admin center and assigning that license there. You're just going to see the license, and then from your assigning here, we assign a group, and I've got 2 members of this group, but only 1 cloud PC. So that meaning that both of them can't connect at the same time, but again, it's big help there for your shift users.
Perfect.
One other recent piece that they've just was in private preview for a while, now it's GA, is we can push out Microsoft apps from a Windows 365 machine. So you provision your cloud share computer, and then it is going to list out our apps here. I don't think there we go. Now I can get down. Right now, it's still pretty fresh. They only have, I think, up to 32 applications that we can push here. But the big ones are, we've got Outlook, Word, OneNote, Access, things like that.
Kind of the Microsoft ecosystem.
Yep. One use case here that I think that organizations might be able to start utilizing is, this is a way to almost build that privilege workstation. So I'm going to push out PowerShell from here, having those users be an administrator on that machine, but that way they have one machine that they can go to run any administrative PowerShell commands that they need, rather than giving them their local admin on their local machine. Just gives you a little bit more fine-tuned controls there.
Awesome.
I'm going to pull up. So how they can access this, I'm on a Mac here. Hopefully that doesn't offend anybody. I've got my Windows app login here, and this is the 3 apps that I pushed. So can launch Word here.
And as he's pulling this up, right, I really want to kind of set the stage. So we definitely dove right into the Intune platform, and you may be going, hey, mobile device management, right, policies, all of that. I mean, this is like VDI management, right? Like we've got virtual desktops. The cool thing about the Intune platform is that Microsoft is really bringing these capabilities together, right? So we're able to manage these Windows PCs, we're able to manage the apps, and then we will progress into, we have the instance, right? We have a way for our users to access a desktop, right? Access an app, then move into, maybe what is kind of traditionally thought of with Intune, policy management, pushing out device management, right? And kind of going through the full life cycle. So really just want to make sure we set the stage. Hey, this is not just, look at how late and great Windows PC is, but it is a part of the larger ecosystem.
Absolutely. Let that load up here.
Yeah, and some of the Windows app stuff, does take a second to load, but you can see here that we now have, Microsoft Word.
Yep. Big thing to note here, you can kind of see I'm on a Mac, but clearly it's showing that this is on a Windows computer. Does the single sign-in for you. It's going to tie into your OneDrive environment, your SharePoint environment. So just a quick little test there.
Perfect.
So that's about all I had right now for your Windows 365 machines.
And I would love to hear in the chat if anybody is using Windows PCs yet, right? Because I think still talk to a lot of people that maybe have one or two, right? They've started to dabble with it, but have not fully explored it yet. Ryan, you're a lot more kind of on the ground than I am now. So, would love to hear your thoughts, but again, I would love to hear any customers that or audience members that are starting to explore this, see what questions they have.
The original, when it first released, I think a lot of people were like, the license cost is definitely a little daunting at first, trying to figure out, okay, that monthly cost, and really looking at, okay, can we look more at when it comes to our user endpoints, CapEx, OpEx. That way we just have a machine connecting to, or users connecting to the cloud. I think too, when it comes to that connecting to the devices, one thing that Microsoft recently has released is a quote unquote Microsoft Thin client called Windows 365 Link. I'll put a link out to chat for y'all to be able to look at that, but it is a device that is locked down from Microsoft that can only connect, it brings up their sign in and can only connect to a Windows 365 machine. So in those scenarios, maybe it's a shared workstation, multiple users logging into, something like that, has USB redirection support, things like that. But if it's really trying to go to just that piece, that is an option. Also, you can take any existing Windows machine, and through Intune, we can push policies to lock down that machine. So when it boots up, it's going to boot up right to that Windows 365 login screen. User won't, to them, they log in and they're on a computer and they're working and they're off. To them, they have no idea that they're actually connecting to a cloud machine. So,
hey, Ryan, we got a question real quick. Can you describe / contrast Windows 365 versus a full Windows AVD deployment?
Yeah. So when it comes to Windows 365 and AVD, Windows 365, you're going to have that hard set, what your costs are going to be. That's going to be the first thing. AVD, that can fluctuate on if you're needing to add more servers, storage, disk use, things like that. And AVD historically is more of that VDI set where we've got our, we're going to be doing those image updates. It's more of that multi-session, single host setup there. But ultimately, from an end user perspective, if you log into a Windows 365 machine to AVD, it's going to look about the same. But It's about
Yeah, I think the big thing, right, is how much control do you need around the infrastructure that is, running the workloads, right? With AVD, we can define, session, the host VMs. We can kind of spin them up, spin them down. Windows 365 has much more defined, SKUs around the resources you have behind that infrastructure. So, do you want simple, fast, deployed, managed? Windows 365 is a great option. Do you want, full control, multi-session, kind of the advanced feature set? AVD is what we need to look at.
The other piece to that too, Intune's doing a little bit better with Windows 11 multi-session, but Intune, as of today, can't manage Windows Server. So if you're doing AVD with Windows Server, now you lose some of that Intune management piece. You can run AVD with Windows 11 multi-session, manage those machines in Intune. There's still limited policy sets. They're quickly ramping them up, but if you're doing that today, you might be like, well, I'm pushing this policy from Intune. Why isn't it going there? You can see in the policy that it's not applicable because of Windows 11 multi-session. So,
yeah, and we got one more question before we move on. So, question was both support third-party apps. I only see as LinkedIn user, so I hope that's the same person that said all good now. But Ryan, just to confirm, Windows 365, AVD. I mean, they are Windows machines, right? So
correct. Yep. And kind of back to that other point, with Windows 365, we'll have a lot more management from Intune to manage those apps, whereas in AVD, as long as you're AVD with Windows 11 multi-session, then yes, we can still push those apps, things like that.
But perfect. Love the interaction. So I'm going to take another question. This user, they've got AVD connecting into on-prem. Can that be done with Windows 365?
One more time, sorry.
So they have AVD instances that are connecting to on-prem resources. Can the same be done with Windows 365? Can we put the networking in place to connect back into those on-prem resources?
Yep, absolutely. So can kind of show it here.
Segues the demo. There we
go. My demo lab on premise is currently taking a hiatus, but working on getting that set back up. But this is where you put in your AD domain, and then back in your provision policy, this is where we can have our Azure network connection, setting that back to your on-prem.
Perfect. Yeah. Again, I can't see the name of who asked that, but if that's something that you are curious about, Ryan and I, we're more than happy to set up a call. Just reach out either through LinkedIn or email, and we can answer kind of any specific questions that you may have. So, very much appreciate all the interaction. Ryan, we'll go ahead and kind of continue on with the Intune demo.
That sounds good. All right, so another recent release for Intune is Windows Backup and Restore. You might have seen this start to get pushed more from a home user perspective, but now within Intune, we can back up, and kind of one of those Microsoft things, they're calling it Windows Backup and Restore. I wish it would have been called Windows Settings Backup and Restore, just so you don't kind of mix that up of this isn't a full OS backup and then, okay, now we're ready to go back in here, let's restore. But it's really backing up those user settings. That way, let's say you're running into a scenario where they're moving to a different machine, whatnot, or even in the sense of maybe you're moving them to a new domain, being able to back up these settings and restore these settings, this is now possible. Still in preview, so I have to make the little asterisk. I haven't seen anything where this is going to be any added license or cost, but I just have been burned one too many times. So it's still preview. Don't come yell at me if it ends up being an added license cost there.
Fair, right? Microsoft does that all the time. So
yes, yep.
Awesome.
Very. And historically, you might be familiar with enterprise state roaming, where users can have their settings kind of roam with them. This is basically continuing on from enterprise state roaming. So their display settings, if they have any Bluetooth settings, things along that line, VPN settings, all of that now being able to back up and restore with Intune is possible. All right, keep going here since I'm on this page.
Yep, absolutely.
Windows Autopilot. One of my favorite parts of Intune, Windows Autopilot being able to, I call it next gen imaging, but historically that has been done with uploading the hardware hash either from when you're buying it from the vendor or doing it manually on a machine. They now have released, calling it Windows Autopilot Device Preparation. I wish they would have just went with version 2, but device preparation, what this does is it now takes out that need for uploading the hardware hash. On the back end, making sure we can set the, all we're doing is needing now to set the serial number to allow it into the Intune. And now the device can go directly to the user signs in, it automatically picks up that device preparation policy by the assignment that we give it. Then from there, it's still historically Windows Autopilot, where as long as whatever groups is in for apps, configuration profiles, compliance settings, all of that now will come through with that autopilot. The biggest caveat on this, and it's kind of can open up another conversation, is this is only available for Entra joined machines. It is not available for hybrid joined machines. So I know we probably don't have a ton of folks here looking at Entra joined machines yet, but this is usually somebody I try to call out that I'm not saying everybody needs to go get away from their Active Directory today, but it is something that I think we're going to continually see Microsoft starting to release newer features, things that would only be Entra joined, not hybrid. They're really pushing that aspect of things. And the one thing I think that gets lost in that conversation is you don't have to rip everything right away, meaning, okay, we got to go to local AD. We can start with our users and computers, getting them Entra joined, and then, but still keeping our Active Directory, VPN them back in, zero trust VPN-less solution that way. But just to me, start those users and computers and then slowly introduce the rest later.
Perfect. Apologies, I was distracted there. I had plumbers that were waving through my office window to let me know they were done with work. So we are back. So all right.
Another fun new Intune is Security Copilot for Intune. This one is
this is the reason everyone's here,
right? Yeah. This is still in its infancy, so there's still things to come. I joke it's still kind of that baby. It's going to be awesome, but it's still just a little bit more. Really what this can help, though, is getting you quicker answers when you're trying to look for things for reporting. So if I wanted to get all managed app installs for user, let's go look for myself here.
Yeah, this is the exciting thing. You know, whether you are pro AI, anti AI, right? We talk to a lot of people that maybe even fall in an in-between camp and they just don't know. We are really starting to see, especially in the Microsoft ecosystem, where these copilots, as they really focus them down, right? This is Copilot for, well, there's a long name, but ultimately Copilot for security or for Intune, right? It allows us to start getting that information a lot faster. So excited that we're able to showcase this for you. But go ahead, Ryan.
Yep. And really, this is all just a Copilot tool for reporting. There's talks of in the next few months that we can just tell it to create policies, create apps, things like that. But right now, it is just a retrieval tool there. But here are the apps that it told me that are assigned to my user. And then from there, you'll get your overall summary, some other useful queries if you're interested, and then kind of give you any next steps included there.
Perfect. Do we have any customers that you've worked with that you know of or that are exploring this at all?
I've yet to run into anybody. Hopefully we can have the conversation here. me and Taylor are honest people, and this is where sometimes this gets kiboshed, is the pricing of Copilot for Intune.
Yep.
It unfortunately today is tied directly to Microsoft Security Copilot. So to have Copilot for Intune enabled, you have to have at least one security.
It's a credit, right?
Yeah, security credit unit, or security compute unit, I think it is.
Yeah. Yep.
One unit is $4 an hour. So that one unit roughly equates to about, I think almost $3,000 a month.
Yeah, you're paying about $100 a day, $96 a day per unit, times days of the month.
Now that doesn't mean there's still ways to test it, see what you're thinking of. Even for this demo, just turned it on a few hours ago. Probably will be turning it off here, but definitely worth something to consider, especially even if it's not just for Intune, if you're using the full security suite with Defender for Endpoint, Defender for Identity, Cloud Apps, things like that. It's not, you can have Security Copilot getting Intune going, but also look for it for those other pieces as well.
Perfect.
All right.
Okay.
Now,
So we've got devices. We've got them onboarded. Our Copilot's telling us how we're using them.
Yeah.
Managing those devices, right?
Yep.
Let's dive into that.
So within Intune, you've got your devices listed here. And once you select your device, it's going to give you a basic overview. All sorts of things we can do here. We can look at the hardware pieces. It's going to pull the operating system, storage, the manufacturer of the device. You can get some network information from this as well. If you've been using Intune for a while, you might have noticed here on the left that there is a newer piece here called Device Inventory. And what this can do is pull even more from what I feel like the hardware piece used to be a little bit more limited. Like, I really want to see some even further detail that maybe you'd get from a PDQ or something like that. That's what Intune's doing here. So get a little bit more detailed information. One other piece that you might have seen is device query. So within the device itself, we can get instant data from the device to pull certificate information, any local groups, local user accounts, things like that. What's nice is we can query with Copilot.
Ryan, real quick, and Intune is constantly releasing new features. So the device query, is there a way to do a query across all devices?
Natively within Intune here, not exactly.
Okay.
But the idea would be we can tie the back end to Log Analytics workspace, and then we can pull it that way.
Okay. Yep.
But right now, this is just within the device itself. And if you're like me, I'm not a Custu query language professional. So that's where the nice part with Copilot is. I can say, is the device protected with BitLocker encryption? And it's going to give me that Custu language that we need to push there. One caveat on device query is it is another added license cost for that. So you would need Microsoft Intune Advanced Analytics for that piece. It is included on the Intune Cloud Suite. So if you were looking at some of the other pieces for endpoint privilege management, things like that, that is all included, that piece. But this device query one specifically is that.
Perfect.
Some of the other pieces here, we can see what configuration policies we've got pushed to the device, compliance settings we've got pushed to the device. I haven't seen many folks do any app configuration on Windows devices. It tends to be a little bit more for the iOS, Android devices. So can kind of come back to that.
I do have a question for the audience real quick though. If you are using Intune currently, are there any features that, or any issues that you're running into, that you're curious about here, related to like device management, right? We want to make sure that, we're answering the questions that people want to hear. And so, go ahead and post in the chat. But otherwise, Ryan, continue, working through this stuff. Clearly, you know it very well. So
Yeah,
I just want to kind of, put you on the spot without telling you I was going to do this and see what people have. So,
for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah. Welcome any questions. We'll call it Stump the Guru or something like that.
Perfect.
All
right.
Something real quick, I'll let the questions come in, but local admin password. So lapse is what it's called with Microsoft, and being able to rotate that local administrator password and be able to retrieve it here within Intune. This has been a very popular feature I've seen among clients. And even as of the last 6 months now, it used to be we can manage the local app's password, but we couldn't actually deploy a local administrator. If it's been a while since you pushed lapse, might be worth re-looking at that. You probably have a PowerShell script or something actually to creating the user, but now that is all native within Intune to push that. Similarly with BitLocker, we can back up our BitLocker keys, ensure the device is encrypted with BitLocker, and it being able to pull that recovery key right here from the device itself. User experience. This is personal opinion. This is something that's really fun when you have the time, but it is more for when you're maybe troubleshooting a device. User saying it's taken forever to log in. We can see here, maybe it's the group policy phase, how long it takes to get to this sign-in screen, things along those lines.
Perfect. Hey, Ryan, we did get a question. I don't know that it's necessarily a stump you, but user asked, or an audience member asked, what do you see the progress being for Mac management? I know we're kind of hanging out in the Windows devices right now.
Yes. So Mac management has come a long, long way when it comes to Intune. It used to be historically, hey, we can check to see if the device is compliant, but when it comes to actually pushing applications, pushing policies, maybe doing updates on the Mac, where it was not possible. In the last year, Microsoft Intune has really pushed a ton of updates and resources to, in my opinion, really start to compete with Jamf. There used to be a lot more Jamf than Intune integration. You start seeing that kind of pull away now as Intune's really trying to compete with Jamf. From the enrollment perspective, if you're doing either just personal enrollment with a company portal, or we can tie this back into Apple Business Manager. So the device comes in Apple Business Manager, we assign it its enrollment program token, and then from there, kind of similar to that autopilot phase for Mac OS, any configuration policies, scripts, updates that we need for that device can all be applied here. Another big push from Mac OS management with Intune is platform single sign-on. So today, now with a Mac OS managed with Intune, we can now sync that user to be your Entra user. So I sign into my Mac, it is my Entra ID user password. I change my Entra ID user password. Historically, folks have got it set up and they're like, oh, but then they still need a VPN because maybe they have them added to Active Directory. Now that is no longer needed. The sync is working with that platform SSO.
Awesome. We've got a couple more comments, more questions. I'm going to divert us back from the Mac real quick.
Yep.
And so we got a question. We were talking about lapse, and the question was, is that for on-prem lapse or the new Entra ID lapse?
It is the new Entra ID lapse.
Okay.
Yep.
So still not able quite yet to support the on-prem.
So my best opinion there would be you can move to the Entra Labs managing on-prem computers. So my suggestion would be to look at getting moved to the newer rather than still trying to manage the older piece there.
Okay, so we've got 2 questions from Sean. Sean, I'm going to ask Ryan your second one, and then I think we will kind of follow up your first one, probably more towards the end. So Sean's question was, what is the future of Entra/identity, and how does that relate to Intune?
Future of Entra identity. So my opinion there, the future of Entra identity would be they're really trying to have that one piece. So allowing you to keep your application secure, keep your users secure, your desktop secure without needing Active Directory. That's ultimately, and really, I think if there's ever a feature out there that's like, oh, Okta can do this, but Entra can't do that. Microsoft's going to continually trying to be the best identity provider out there that they can be to keep competing with all of the other ones there. So, Taylor, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I haven't yet to find a good use case of where having Okta and Entra together, other than you just love Okta, which is totally okay. I don't want anybody moving away from something they love, but really Entra can do exactly what Okta can do from an identity provider.
And I think it's gotten a lot closer lately. I think historically, organizations that land on Okta, Microsoft is a piece, but maybe not like the whole, right? Yeah. And so they've got third-party integrations that they're trying to tie into. And again, Entra's gotten really good, right? They've got a lot of feature parity. So, ultimately when it comes to identity and it comes to Intune, they're kind of, complements of each other for your environment management. They're going to continue to grow both of them. They're not going anywhere. So,
and one other piece to that would be the Microsoft has their secure access solution, VPN-less solution now with Global Secure. And that's a piece really tied in with Intune, being able to push and manage that application. So now we can monitor policies, really push everything to going through conditional access rather than historically a VPN firewall.
Perfect. Okay, I've got one that I think will play into the stump the guru. Cool. Let me reach out. Okay, let me read through this. So it seems that when we hybrid join some computers, a few of them don't automatically enroll into Intune. The only reliable way I've been able to get them to enroll is by running the following steps manually. Okay. Ryan, I'm going to pay. I don't know if you can see. I don't know that I want to read commands to you. Actually, no, we can do this real quick. Okay, so dsreg cmd/leave, reboot the computer, and then dsreg cmd/join. After completing those steps, the device enrolls into Intune successfully. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Nope. So they have to manually leave and then have to manually join, right? They're looking into whether there's a more consistent or automated way to handle this, but wanted to, kind of ask what's been working so far, or note what they've been doing so far to get this to work.
Okay. So a couple of things to check on that. One is in Entra on mobility, ensuring that your user scope is set to either all or some, and making sure those users are in that group there. Second piece, making sure the users are licensed for Intune. Sometimes gets oversought there, but probably working in that case. Thirdly would be ensuring the devices are syncing in Azure or Entra ID Connect, and you've got your Windows 10 piece set up there. Lastly would be probably looking at conditional access. Conditional access, MFA, sounds like there might be something going on there where MFA is getting pushed and isn't going from that piece. There is one of, sorry.
No, just real quick. I just want to say, There was a comment, what's the best way to schedule a meeting to ask questions about specific issues that maybe we don't want to, ask here? So I just put both my and Ryan's emails in the chat. You are more than welcome to reach out to us directly. If you reach out to me, I'm going to bring in Ryan. But then if you are already working with an account executive, definitely go through them. They can bring in Ryan. We're accessible. There are multiple ways you can reach out to any of us, and we'll coordinate on our end. We just want to make sure we get you all taken care of. So that was my side, how to get a hold of us tangent. But Ryan, back to you.
Yeah. So I again, even for that question, if it's something, give those things a shot, and again, we can have a quick conversation on that piece. One thing I wanted to share with everybody, I think we even kind of put it on the marketing piece, but just some Intune tips and tricks. So I put together a Word doc here that kind of goes over either any Intune tools that could help you. One big thing I want to just note before I go through this is, so I'm not historically haven't been a huge LinkedIn guy. From the networking aspect. Getting on there was like,
we're dragging Ryan into being in front of people.
Right. So. Right. But what I found myself about 2 years ago, I was getting into woodworking and was on Facebook and was like, man, there's so much great information on woodworking with all these Facebook groups. And then I was sitting at work the next day thinking about, I wonder if there's something similar from like Microsoft and all those other things. And I figured probably LinkedIn was a better place to look rather than Facebook. And sure enough, just whole new world of information. Whether it's connecting with Microsoft MVPs or actual LinkedIn groups that people are constantly posting updates, new things, maybe trying certain things. Just been a insane amount of information. Anytime that maybe Microsoft's sending out an update, I find out about it way faster on LinkedIn than I do a Microsoft email. So
yep.
What I put together here is one, just a list of Intune tools that maybe Microsoft MVPs have found that Intune natively isn't doing the best. So they've built a GUI PowerShell open source tool to kind of fix some of these things. So I'm not going to go through the feature sets of each of these, but just wanted to kind of touch on some here. The rock and roll tool printer solution has been tested, vetted from myself. Printers in Intune, some of you may know those pain points, can be a little bit more frustrating, especially if you're not trying to use universal print and still have some of those local printers in general, by the way, too. I used to always joke, if I'm going to get out of IT, it's going to be because of troubleshooting.
Because of printers?
Yeah. I don't own a printer in my home. I go to Office Depot if I need to print something, because the printers and me don't get along the best.
No, this is a great document, right? You've got a bunch of stuff called out. I think resource aggregation is always super powerful. So we're going to have this, we're going to get it posted. We will follow up with the link in the chat, make it, readily available. All this information is out on the internet, right? This is links. This is names of people to follow. If you're not following Ryan and I, go ahead and click follow there, connect.
Please connect. I try to keep a good group of just something that I'm seeing that maybe we've talked before. Hey, even looking here at this, one thing I wanted to make sure to bring up to everybody. So remediation scripts in Intune. If you historically have been a business premium user, remediation scripts in Intune have not been available to you, but just to make sure everybody is aware, they are now. So it used to be only Microsoft E3, E5. Now within Intune, we can push out those remediation scripts with Business Premium. If anybody isn't aware of what remediation scripts are compared to just pushing out PowerShell scripts, a PowerShell script once pushed with Intune is pushed just once to that assignment. It is, once it's pushed, there's no more further checks. What a remediation script can do is it first pushes that detect script, and then if it finds that it has found that, you can have a remediation script on there as well. So some of the pieces would be, maybe we want to clean up user profiles that are older than 90 days. We can have a detect script running that and then cleaning up the profiles with that remediation piece there. So won't go into too much more detail there, but just want to make sure everybody's aware.
Yeah. And again, there's another comment. Where can I find the list of links? We're going to get that posted. We'll follow up in the chat. It's not live yet, but it will be here shortly. So,
yep.
All right, Ryan.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you one question. It's going to deviate us slightly, but I think for the broader audience, it might be helpful. Okay.
Yeah.
And Intune plays into this, right? Because a lot of organizations are paying for Intune and they may not realize it, or they may have gone another solution a few years ago when, people didn't quite leverage, Intune didn't have the capabilities that it does now, right? So, to that effect, if you are paying for a license that has Intune support and you're paying for a third-party tool, maybe worth evaluating. I know everyone's looking at IT budgets, right? Hey, are there opportunity to cut costs? But to kind of take this a different direction. So Sean had asked a question I said I was going to follow up towards the end. And his question was, what are the tools I'm already paying for, but probably underutilizing, right? And how do we know that? Can you pull up the M365 matrix? I don't think a lot of people necessarily realize that this tool is out there, but this is a great way to go see what are all the features in every license, right? So do like a business standard versus a business premium, throw the E5 on there, right? Yeah, so perfect. So one of the exercises that Ryan and I will do with customers, is that we will, very simply, and you can do it yourself, right? This is a link. We'll post it in the chat here momentarily, but just start at the top and work your way down for what is available in, either your selected license or a couple that you're looking at, and go, hey, I didn't even know I had this, right? Or, hey, what are you doing to solve DLP, right? Data loss prevention. You may have a third-party platform that you're using for data loss prevention because you may not have realized that it's even in your license, right? So I've got business premium. I have access to data loss prevention. We can start to evaluate the landscape and make those decisions, right? And we help companies, customers, partners all the time go in and realize, oh, wow, I'm double paying in all these different areas, or I can downsize my license, right? Because, well, I am paying for, maybe I'm on a M365 E3. I'm only using the O365 E3 capabilities. And I can go save money, or we can start to get into add-on games, right? There's all kinds of things that you can look at to identify savings, but wanted to make sure we kind of talked through this, right? So the question was, hey, I've got M365 business standard, right? So, I would go pull this up and look through the list of M365 business standard features that are available to me. Even if it's not a, do I move up or down? It's a, what do I even have and how can I start leveraging what I'm already paying for? Ryan, anything to kind of add to that?
I don't think so. The only thing I'd say there too is I know how much everybody loves Microsoft licensing. But to that point, me and Taylor live and breathe this stuff, and we're here for you. So again, please feel free to reach out. We're crazy. We love talking it. We love just helping you work through some of those questions. Again, at the end of the day, yeah, sure, we'd love to sell you something, but even if it's just a quick conversation, it makes our day to just talk this stuff. I know it sounds crazy, but
yeah, might get my hand slapped for this one, but at the end of the day, Ryan and I, we are engineers. We love this stuff. We want to help people solve problems. So even if if you have a question, curious, right? Like schedule a call. We'll hop on a call. And if we can help answer your question, awesome, right? We absolutely will. But
may not be able to do a full deployment without getting.
But we can tell you how to. We're happy to guide, right?
Yep.
So, absolutely reach out if you have questions. It will not be high pressure in the slightest. It's like my extensive PowerPoint that I put together at the start of this presentation. It was an intro slide. So let's see. So, Ryan, we've got, a few minutes left here. We're coming up on the end. Questions throughout have been amazing. If anybody has questions here at the end that they want to ask and sneak in before we wrap up, please do. But, while those come in, Ryan, anything, kind of final call out, right, that you want to show?
Yeah. So one thing I think is it's been around for a while is partner portal here within Intune, and historically it's just been the service management portal, but 3 that have been released in the last year or so has been, so if your fleet is all Dell, within your Dell management portal, we can integrate these now. So when it comes to pushing Dell command client, backing up BIOS, resetting BIOS passwords, things like that, rather than having to go to the Dell management portal, now we can do all of that within Intune. Same thing goes for HP Connect. And then this has been a very popular one that just got released in September, but is your Intel vPro fleet services as well. So that's one that I feel like really gets lost. There's no added license cost or anything like that. And I feel like can really help folks there. So
awesome. Yeah.
Go
ahead.
One other piece, just make sure you guys are aware of my Word doc you can send out, is just put together a daily checklist. Just really making sure to understand Intune is unfortunately not a set it and forget it deployment. So there is kind of, I put together just a daily checklist. Doesn't have to strictly be daily, but just a way to kind of understand what are some
level of frequency checklist.
Yeah. What are some good things to be going to look at there? And then along with that, kind of put together a cheat sheet, just kind of showing what the problems are, maybe a description, and then where to look. Sometimes it gets tough when it comes to, okay, Intune just says error code 6500, but where can I go look on the device to find those logs? Just kind of putting together some pieces there. So it gets a little long. I apologize, but feel free to kind of pick and choose which pieces you want there, and just kind of going through all the pieces. So
no, this is great. Like I said, we'll get this thing up and live. We'll post in the chat of the LinkedIn event. I think that should notify everybody when that is up. But otherwise, we've got the attendance list. We'll make sure to send out, the link once it's live to everybody. Either Ryan or I will go through and send over a LinkedIn message. So,
and if there's any specific features that you guys are like, oh, it would be nice, but even the Intune Cloud Suite with the Cloud PKI, the Enterprise Privilege Management, those types of things, you want to get a little bit more focus, very happy to put together a more focused demo on those pieces.
Yeah. And to that, right, a lot are new things, right? We didn't do Intune 101. How do we do the absolute basics, right? So if you as a customer or as an audience member are in the camp of I'm not sure what Intune is, or I'm in a different tool and I just want the start clean demo, we're happy to do that as well, right? Ryan does this all the time. I cannot stress how many customers and how busy our engineers are kept doing Intune deployments. And so this is a hot topic right now in IT organizations. We're here to answer questions, help you out. All right. Any final thoughts? I think we're kind of good on questions in the chat. You got a few minutes, so if you want to show something else, by all means.
I figure one last piece. So all of our Intune folks out there, I know one of your biggest pain points is the Intune syncing. I click restart, I click shutdown, and you're waiting that Microsoft minute. I can't talk enough about Rudy Ohms here. He's a Microsoft MVP, works for Patch My PC, but he has a good link that I'll send out that really goes into the full detail of what
I
is
just
actually
posted it in the chat.
Perfect. Yep. Definitely recommend reading through this just to really make sure you're understanding what's happening on the back end rather than pulling your hair out of why the device is not syncing. Kind of goes through understanding like when a device enrolls, when does it actually pull down the configurations, and then after that. Historically, you might hear folks like, well, Intune takes 8 hours to sync. Well, it's not technically the case. There are certain times where that is the case, but and then kind of towards the end here, he's talking, there is I joke, a light at the end of the tunnel. Intune is getting closer and closer to getting the changes needed to be where we click restart and it actually restarts. Or we push the app, things just working a little bit faster there. Ironically, they started some of this testing on Mac OS. They've had a lot of great success, and so kind of bringing that same piece onto the Windows sides of things. So
perfect. All right, just to wrap up a bit, we got a few comments there at the end, so I'll kind of summarize. So this is being recorded through LinkedIn, so if you go to the event page after, it processes pretty fast, but it'll be available then. We will, if you email me or Ryan, we will email the document out, but then otherwise we will reach out via LinkedIn if you signed up with the document once we get that publicly posted. Do you offer a service, Ryan, do we offer a service to log in and evaluate the environment to provide a to-do list, right? It's a little bit of a manual effort, right? So it would be, an engagement. It would be a small engagement, but absolutely we're happy to have that conversation. Otherwise, I think that pretty well covers it. So, I want to thank everybody. We had really, really good attendance, in terms of people that decided to spend their hour, whether it's your lunch hour, whether it was, your morning on the West Coast. We cannot thank you enough for spending time with us today. We love this stuff. We absolutely want to have conversations about it. We want to, evangelize Intune, here at US Signal. It's what we use. Again, it's keeping us busy. This is fun stuff. So don't hesitate to reach out. Don't hesitate to, contact us through your account executive if you already have one. If you don't, or you want to bypass that sales channel, right? Ryan and I are more than happy to have that conversation. So again, thank you, Ryan. Thank you, for giving us the hour. You are incredibly talented with this stuff. Excited to help out any way we can. And with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Thank you, everybody.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Take care.